damage to Tel Aviv if he were attacked. Let's switch there now to Richard Roth. And Richard, are there any signs of retaliation?
No, so far Tel Aviv is quiet this morning. There is no sound at all almost in the city. Everyone in Israel has been urged to stay inside their homes as the government instituted what's called a national economy emergency system. But people have been advised to open up their protective gas mask kits and keep them nearby. And if anyone has to go to work, while they are there, they are urged to take their gas masks with them. The public is urged also to listen to the radio. And Israel Radio has sprung alive with the reports from Mideast capitals, including reports from CNN, keeping everyone here up to date on the situation. This is the city that Saddam Hussein said he would attack with missiles should the multinational force attack him. So far, the skies are quiet here in Tel Aviv.
Richard Roth, thank you very much. Again, the President of the United States will address the nation and the world in under an hour from now at 9 Eastern. We return to Baghdad at the Al Rashid Hotel.
All right, David, here we are. The sky is being lighted now by some bright flashes far in the distance. You remember, Peter, when we were children, our parents would tell us if there was lightning, you could tell how far the lightning was away by counting 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. I guess you could do the same thing for bombs, can't you?
Maybe, John. I was just picking up on a comment by Wolf Blitzer from the Pentagon that the targets were basically defense suppression. This could well be the case here because I see no fires on the horizon. If they were hitting buildings or even, structures, we did see smoke earlier, but we don't see any flames. Maybe the targets have been surface-to-air missiles or whatever, but we do not see flames at this point, even though scores of bombs have been dropped in Baghdad so far this morning. John?
Peter, we should try to help analyze, if we can, for at least our own edification, these bright white lights that seem to be moving across the sky from south to north right now. The lights look like the lights you'd see from helicopters, but there's no sound out there.
It could be radar suppression material dropped from planes or from spotter planes of some kind. It could be to disrupt the radar defenses of Baghdad. That would probably be my guess. That's the only reason I'd be up there, John.
Yeah. Bernie Shaw is going to come over and talk to us now. Bernie?
Well, I just wanted to chime in on this speculation. They could be choppers, those choppers that have the very, very quiet engines.
Yeah, and they could be at a great distance away from us.
You mean our choppers or their choppers? I mean U.S. choppers or Iraqi choppers?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I very much doubt that multinational force choppers are this far into the country. If they are, it would be another kind of operation.
Then they would have to be Iraqi choppers. Yeah. I know that I saw 2 choppers go by this hotel window.
Yeah. Well, I know early in the morning we've seen several runs by choppers by the hotel. Helicopters, of course. The Soviet Hind helicopters are the ones that they use mostly here in Iraq. Now, way off in the distance, many, many miles away, you can hear these blasts again coming through. Some more anti-aircraft fire. And I guess a little bit lower down on the ground, I'll once again let you hear the sound of what is going on over Baghdad tonight. Thing about this is you still can't hear the airplanes. You can't hear any sign of these planes that the anti-aircraft guns are being fired at.
Yeah, well, I'm anxious for daylight to come. Maybe we can get some visibility. From what we can see, the populated areas of Baghdad where all the people live, there doesn't seem to have been any bombing activity at all. The bridges are still standing. In fact, the bridges over the Tigris River are still lit. So we don't see any action at all within the city. Around us and a couple of government centers, there seemed to have been some bombing earlier, but right now, in fact, in the last half hour, the bombing has moved out seemingly beyond the perimeter of the city to presumably military targets, strategic targets, further west towards
Yes, that's correct. Kind of out of the immediate vicinity of Baghdad here. And I just looked out on the street a moment ago and saw a very small automobile driving down there. Peter, look at this. This is a bright flash of light that seems to be, it came across from north to south and even came up here by us in the hotel. And there it goes, almost like a shooting star.
I think that shooting star is probably an F-15, John.
Yeah. So that's what they look like at night when they're working. All right. It's good to know. There are a couple of vehicles out on the street, more anti-aircraft fire. Well, there's something going on that you can hear down there. It seems that maybe a bomb was just dropped again near the main telecommunications center here in Baghdad, and the anti-aircraft fire is again going up as the night sky continues to be brightly lighted in Baghdad. Peter.
Yes, John, that was a tactical strike. The plane could have been as close as 500 meters in the sky above its target. And certainly it's being met with a lot of anti-aircraft fire, but it is long gone at this point, John.
Yeah. These planes are moving so rapidly, and with the one bright light on them. I guess that's the engines themselves that we're seeing going by. This is something I've never covered before, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Arnett is our expert at CNN on war coverage, and I'm getting, this is a literal baptism by fire, isn't it, Peter?
Well, I don't think there's anyone alive, John, who is an expert on this sort of thing, being in the middle of a major capital with an airstrike, air attacks like this going on. I don't know if any experts exist.
Well, Bernie.
I'll tell you, I was just at the window and I saw that F-15 go by, or more accurately, I should say I heard it. And as you indicated, Peter Arnett, by the time that plane had cleared the space over here, it was out of sight. Only then could the anti-aircraft batteries respond to it, and as you said, it was much too late.
All right, since we did see another bomb go off near the major telecommunications facility, we better make sure that our viewers are still able to hear us. Let us just check in, make sure that you guys can still hear us in Atlanta and around the network.
John Holloman, Bernard Shaw, and Peter Arnett. Yes, indeed, we can hear you, and we're going now to the Pentagon briefly, and Wolf Blitzer.
David, here at the Pentagon, we're in the press briefing room where there is going to be a briefing with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Colin Powell, and Defense Secretary Dick Cheney shortly after the president addresses the nation. That is in about 45 minutes. We are also receiving indications from Pentagon sources that this initial U.S. airstrike seems to be moving ahead on schedule, as planned, without any great disasters as far as the United States is concerned. One reason why there, so far, does not appear to have been any Scud launchings into Saudi Arabia or into Israel or into any of the other alleged targets that the Iraqis had is because we had been told repeatedly that those F-15s, those F-117A stealth fighters, those F-16s, all of the carrier-based U.S. aircraft, their immediate initial target, in addition to anything that could endanger those planes, would be all of Iraq's Scud missile bases, the mobile bases, certainly the fixed ballistic missile bases. They not only have the Soviet-made Scud ground-to-ground missiles, but also the Iraqis have improved some of those Scuds. They're called the Al Hussein and the Al Abbas. Those were day one, #1 targets, as we and other networks have been reporting now for months. The United States was going to take those missile sites out. No indication completely, no confirmation that the United States has, but certainly if the Iraqis had planned to launch any of those Scud missiles, they almost certainly would have launched them within the first minutes of this war, and the war now appears to be about 2 hours old. David?
Operation Desert Storm now 1 hour